gave it all up, went to zero in income, went in my basement with nothing but a credit card. Just gotten divorced. I had pretty much nothing. I decided, you know what? No better time than now to start over. So I did. I knew that I could do it. So instead of hiding from that, trying to lie to people, I would say, you know what, Mr. Prospect, I'm just a guy in my basement right now. I'm trying to sell printing. I can tell you this much. My printing's not any better. The quality's not any better. We do good work, just like every other printing company. What they don't have is me. You give me a chance, give me one order, and I will prove to you that you'll never go else. That's all I ask. Because I'm better than anyone else. And I really believe that.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's episode of Disruptors, where millionaires are made. Today, we have Jeff Charlton with REI Print Mail and Jeff flew in from St. Louis to talk about how he jumped from $4 million to $31 million in sales in 7 years. Now, guys, I'm on a mission to create 100 millionaires. The information on the show alone is enough to help you become a millionaire in the next 5 to 7 years. If you'll take consistent action, you'll become one. And guys, if you're already a millionaire, please scan that QR code so we can recognize you here on the show. And if you need help getting there, scan that same QR code as well. And before we jump in, if you're here to learn how real entrepreneurs are building real empires, make sure you hit that subscribe button because every week we're talking about how to create your first or your next million. And guys, our AI lead manager is now up and running. If you want to hear what our AI lead manager sounds like, text AI caller to the phone number 33777. That's AI space caller 33777. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So first question for you is, what was your life like right before you got into business?
I was very young. I actually started out as an entrepreneur when I was 11 years old and didn't know I was doing that, but I was a Boy Scout. And Boy Scouts, we sold fertilizer for fundraiser.
Okay.
Lawn fertilizer. Not cookies, not stuff like that. Lawn fertilizer.
Not pre-packaged cookies like today.
Yes. Which seems insane, but I didn't know any different. And we used to have to sell 40 bags of fertilizer to get a free summer camp. So that was my goal, to sell 40 bags of fertilizer.
Right.
And the first year I did that. Second year, I sold over 200 bags.
Okay.
The third year, I sold a little semi truckload of fertilizer. When every other kid was selling like 10, I'm selling 800.
Yeah.
And I did it knocking on doors, door to door. And I also used, which I didn't know back then anything about direct mail, but we printed up flyers and we'd go back to the people's houses we bought from last year and went to the whole subdivision, put flyers in the mailboxes.
Retargeting.
Said, hey, Anyway, I did that and I was successful. Never thought anything of it. I just wanted to get a free summer camp.
You're just being smart and efficient.
And then when I was 14, I used to cut lawns. So one of my lawn jobs said, hey, you want to paint my house? And I just painted my house with my dad. So I knew how to paint. And I said, yeah, I can do that. And I remember back then the minimum wage was $4 an hour. And the guy offered to pay me $7 an hour to paint his house. Mm-hmm. And I did it. I don't know how long it took me, but I made like $200 on the deal.
Yeah.
And I thought I was paid at the time I was doing lawns for $5. Mm-hmm. So $200 was like I got rich. So I just said, this is it. I'm going to paint houses. Forget this lawn thing. So I proceeded to then go. I had one job. I did a good job. The guy was happy. Used that as my one testimonial and knocked on doors in the neighborhood and said, hey, I painted that guy's house. You want me to paint your house? And 2 other people in that same summer said, yep. And so it started from there. And by the time I was a senior in college, I had 12 guys working for me. This was just a summer gig. But I had 12 guys working for me, including my 4 football coaches from high school.
Wow.
And so I didn't really realize it. I didn't think anything of it. I just was naturally an entrepreneur.
You're just a hustler.
Yeah. I did get a college degree. I got a civil engineering degree. And so when I graduated from college, I thought, well, I better use my degree. And I went to work for Procter & Gamble as an engineer. Mm-hmm. But I did that for 3 years. And I realized now this is not for me. Entrepreneurship is where I'm at. So I knew I had to get in business for myself. I didn't want to paint. And it's kind of a long story, but I kind of fell into the printing business accidentally. Mm-hmm. But I took it seriously. And that was almost 34 years ago.
So how much were you making the 12 people working for you in college while you're getting an engineering degree? How much were you making? Do you remember?
I do. I made $30,000 cash in my pocket in 3 months in the summer, which back then was a lot of money.
Right.
Everybody else might make, $1,500 the whole summer, and I was making $30,000. So.
And then what were you making as an engineer?
My starting salary was $27,000 a year.
So as an entrepreneur,
yes,
you were already ahead.
Yes.
But you were kind of doing what you kind of were not told to do, but like this is just the way what everyone does.
Yeah. I never thought, I just, it was. I thought, you got this degree and, you get this thing about corporate America. It seems real glamorous. Mm-hmm. And I realized very quickly corporate America was not.
How did you realize that?
Well, just the whole thing was, I felt like you spent 50% of your time in meetings that were totally unproductive.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of, it's not whether you're good or not. It's more how you can, suck up to your boss and work your way up the corporate ladder, which wasn't necessarily how good you were.
Right.
And it's just, I don't know. It felt like I had no control over me. Remember Procter & Gamble, which was a good company. Don't get me wrong. I thought of corporate companies, granted it was my only experience, but I thought it was a good company and they were fair. But they had salary scales. I remember talking to my boss about this, like no matter how good you were, the best you can do is be at the top of your scale. Might be like a $3,000 difference from the lowest to the highest a year, And I thought, that sucks, what if I'm really good, We're limited. I didn't like being limited. I wanted to be able to make whatever I could make based on my own efforts.
Yeah, well, you're speaking my language here because, that was the reason why I quit Intel. It was like, I could never make more. Being the best, I can never make more. So then at that point, only thing I can control was how fewer hours I can work to get the same amount of work done. And that's all the time was spent.
Right.
How can I work less and get the same amount of work done?
Right.
Which is probably not what you want to hear as a business owner or as an owner, or as a manager. But yeah, I totally get that. Okay, so then you decide after 3 years, this is not for me. Well, was direct mail like your first?
No, and actually I skipped a 3-year period in that. So when I quit Procter & Gamble, I was married at the time. I got married very young. And it was my father-in-law, that's how I got into printing. He had a little small printing company. I didn't know anything about printing other than he had a nice car and a nice house and he had his own business. And he was getting old and he had no kids to give his business to. Mm-hmm. So I thought, you know what, I could do that. I could go into work for him, learn the business. Now when he retires, I'll take over his company. Right. So that was my plan. But I didn't know anything about printing at all. So I proposed that plan to him. But I said, the caveat is I'm going to take a week off of work. I want to follow you around for a week and just see what you do, see if I even like printing. But I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know what printing was really until I got it. But anyway, so long story short, I did that. I liked it, decided I could do it. And I became then, and by the way, I was very much an introvert back then. I was an engineering type, analytical, shy. And I realized, when I started looking back on my life, I realized this engineering thing's not for me. Mm-hmm. So what is for me? And I thought, you have been a salesman your whole life. I just didn't even know it. My whole family's salesman too. That seemed like a suck job to me. I just didn't think that would be good. Yeah. But when I started looking at what I did, I kind of was a salesman. So I thought, all right. And I knew to have your own business, you had to be a salesman. You had to sell the jobs, especially when you're small. You got to do everything. Yeah. So I thought, all right, I'm going to be the best salesman I can possibly be. So I took sales training and I went all in to learning how to sell. Mm-hmm. And I went from introvert to extrovert, learned how to sell, and I was very successful doing that. Oh. And I really treated it like a skill set that I had to learn.
We say learn how to sell, but you already had some instincts.
Right.
I mean, selling, what was he say, a half a semi, a fertilizer as a sixth grader.
I just had no fear, but my pitch back then was, hey, you want to buy some fertilizer? And there was no objection handling or anything like that. So, but as you learn the skill, you learn all that stuff. And then you get confidence.
Where did you go through Procter & Gamble? Did you go through the corporate training? Like, how did you get better?
Dale Carnegie Sales School. Yeah. And that helped. But honestly, a lot of that sales training I kind of rejected because I thought it was kind of bullshit training. Mm-hmm. It wasn't bullshit, but it was hard closing stuff that I wasn't comfortable with. Yeah. But part of it was good. But what they did teach you is, I don't know, just how to present yourself. A lot of that sales training was just getting in front of a room and making presentations. Mm-hmm. Every week, it was a weekly thing for like 16 weeks. And you'd spend like 4 hours a night for 16 weeks. And you get up in front of the room every week. You have to do something. And I got comfortable getting up in front of the room. But what really trained me wasn't that. When I got my job from my father-in-law, he handed me a desk about this big and said, there's a phone, go set up some appointments and go sell something. Mm-hmm. I mean, zero training. Yeah. And I didn't know anything. And that was before I did the sales training. I knew nothing. So I didn't even know how to make cold calls. I just got on the phone, literally looked up accounts in the phone book. He gave me about 30 kind of house accounts as a starting point, none of which really were worth anything. Mm-hmm. But mainly I had to make cold calls. I made thousands and I got really good. And it totally eliminated all fear. And that alone was really kind of turned me from the introvert to the extrovert, because I realized I can say anything to anybody over the phone, mm-hmm. and worst thing can happen is a hang up on me. So what? I don't know who they are anyway.
Yeah.
And I still remember to this day my pitch. I can do it word for word.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Hey, my name's Jeff Charlton. You probably don't know me, but I'm calling to see if you have some time in the next couple of weeks to set up 15 minutes to talk about printing. And you're not supposed to ask yes or no questions in sales. I asked yes or no questions.
Yeah.
And they would either say, well, sure, let's do it, which they rarely said. Or they'd say, well, I'm really busy. I'd say, I understand you're busy. I'm really busy too. What if I call you in 2 weeks? Maybe you won't be so busy. Call you in 2 weeks. We'll see if we can set something. How'd that be? They'd always say, sure, call me in 2 weeks.
Right.
And then my CRM, this is before computers pretty much. We had computers, but we didn't have anything like we have today. There were no CRMs.
No.
Maybe there was a couple on the market, but I didn't have one. My CRM was a index cards in a little plastic file box with a 1 through 31 on it. And I would have a card for each lead, and I'd put the name, address, phone number, and I had my own little coding system on there. So I didn't have to write a book. And if the guy said, one of them was CB for AP, that was call back for appointment. When I'd make that pitch and the guy said yes, I would write in there the date and I put CB for appointment and I put it 2 weeks out. And then in 2 weeks, I'd say, hey, Mr. Prospect, my name's Jeff Charlton. You probably don't remember me, but I called you 2 weeks ago talking about setting up an appointment to talk about printing. At the time, you're too busy, but you said call in 2 weeks and you probably have some time. So it's been 2 weeks. I'm calling you. Let's set it up.
Yeah.
And boom, I'd do that. And they wouldn't always say yes to that either. And I would play that dance for like 3 rounds. Okay. And I wouldn't argue. I'd just, okay, I'll just call you in 2 more weeks. At the end of the third one, if they're still saying no, I'd say, you know, Mr. Prospect, I've called you like 3 times over the last few months here and you seem to be really busy. So it sounded like maybe you don't want to talk to me at all, which is okay. It's okay to tell me no. So if it's no, that's fine. Tell me, I'll cross you off my list. I'll never call you back. But if you think there might be an opportunity, can't we just set something up? Even if we got to set it up a month in advance, can we do that today? And at that point, it would get to, okay, I'll set it up or cross me off the list.
All right.
And I really would. If he said cross me off the list, I would. I'd never call him back. That was it. And it didn't work every time. Nothing works every time. But it worked enough that I went from, first I worked for somebody else. In 3 years working for him, I went from nothing to making enough money that I was selling over $1 million a year in printing. And I was personally putting $150,000 a year in my pocket in 3 years in sales on commission.
Yeah.
And at the end of that, he ended up not being the guy I thought. And so I didn't want to work for him and I didn't want to take over his company.
Yeah.
So I decided just to go out on my own. I gave it all up, went to zero in income, went in my basement with nothing but a credit card. And I just gotten divorced in the process. And my ex-wife, I didn't have much money left after the divorce. So I had pretty much nothing. And I decided, you know what? No better time than now to start over. So I did. But I knew that I could do it. So I'd proven that I could sell. So I had confidence in that. I just had to do it again.
All right. Well, you know how to sell it. So you started over. Yeah. You had to learn the rest of the business.
Well, by the way, we were brokering printing too, which means I didn't produce anything then. I was just a sales arm. We would get the order and then we had manufacturers that we're the middleman. So we would get the order, we'd put a markup on it and we'd have somebody else make it. And we're the middleman. Okay. So I knew how to do that too. And I knew the manufacturers.
So you need the operations.
Yeah. So I just had to sell it. And then I had to do everything. I had to sell it, coordinate the job when I'm by myself. And then I had to do the accounting and everything. So,
got it.
Which that really put me, I already had in my painting business, even though it was a kid in college and high school, I still did. I paid people. I did accounting. I had some very rough books that were handwritten, but I had some experience in doing that.
Yeah.
And we got a computer. But anyway, the point is, in doing all that, I learned the entire business. But it was brutal. The first couple months in my basement, because I had nothing to offer at that point. And so instead of hiding from that too, because now I'm by myself, I don't have any reputation of a company. I have nothing. So instead of hiding from that, trying to lie to people, something I'm not, I would say, I leaned into it. I said, you know what, Mr. Prospect, I'm just a guy in my basement right now trying to sell printing, but I can tell you this much. My printing's not any better. The quality's not any better. We do good work just like every other printing company. What they don't have is me. You give me a chance, give me one order, and I will prove to you that you'll never go anywhere else. That's all I'd ask. Yeah. Because I'm better than everybody else. And I really believe that. Because there's more to it than just putting ink on paper. Printing's a complicated product. And I had gotten really good at designing marketing things. And back then, forms were really big. And I was a really good forms designer. And that was kind of the engineering in me. I was really good at finding a problem and then finding a solution for it. And so I knew I could do that. The thing here, though,
is that you went to work for somebody else for 3 years.
Learned it, yeah.
Right. Which is, we have a lot of people that are trying to learn things through, content like this, which obviously I believe in the product, the content we put out there. But when people ask me like, hey, what are the things I can do to get started? Like I always suggest like go work for somebody that's doing
100%.
exactly what you want to do.
100%.
Because there's two things. You're going to learn the skills and you're getting paid to learn the skills.
Hey, you're doing it on somebody else's dollar for sure.
On someone else's dime. So like I always say it's either that or find like a tribe that's doing exactly what you want or they're a little bit further ahead. Doing one of those two things will put you in the right direction. So you put in the 3 years to learn how to sell, how the operations works, or not the full operations, but like how to outsource it to someone else or to middleman someone else. You got all the skills. Now you just got to go do it again on your own, on your dime.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the confidence is everything because when it's brutal when you're in there was days 10 hours a day making cold calls and I'm getting nowhere. And if I didn't have the experience to know that I could do it, it would turn into something productive. I might have given up.
Yeah.
But because I knew I could do it, I said I just got to put in the time. I knew that, and I learned. I think Dale Carnegie taught me that every no is one step closer to a yes. So I didn't let the no's get to me. I just said, that's just that much closer or less, and to a yes. I had that in my mind. It really did. That motivated me to keep going. And it does go in waves too. Everything goes in waves. And I might go one day with no appointments at all. And then the next morning I'd get 4 in a row, and it's always that way. So you got to keep waiting for that hot streak,
So how was that first year?
It was tough. I remember the numbers. I made $30,000 net in my pocket after all in first year, which is barely enough to put food on the table because I had a child and I was paying child support and everything. So I did everything I could to support the child. And I survived. I had a little bit of money in the bank. That was enough to It was mainly on credit. I was able to secure a credit line with the bank, and that's how I funded the operation, the orders. But it was slim. But the second year, it took off.
What does that mean?
I went from on 30,000. I think I sold a couple 100,000 in sales. In the second year, I got back up to So it really took off.
What changed? What was the difference?
Well, number one, I got a little momentum, and I got a couple big customers that really started. I kind of, like I said, let me prove it to you. Well, I was selling general commercial printing, which was mainly forms and labels. That was my main thing. And this is stuff involved in mainly manufacturing. Well, they test you out at first. They might give you a couple small orders, but when they finally prove them, they like you. They might, like one of my big customers was a company called US Paint. They made specialty paints for airplanes. And I was doing one label for them. Well, then they gave me their whole line. And so that alone was like $300,000 account just for one. So and that came in. So just had a few big counts hit, and it just, like anything, you build a base, you do a good job, keep the accounts you have, and you keep adding on top of it. And we're all about, in printing, it's all about repeat business. So once you have an account, they keep ordering more and more because it gets used up. So that's the kind of sales I was looking for too. Things that get used up in manufacturing.
The name of the game in printing is just retention.
Well, that's true in everything. But yes, it's big in printing because the products we sell, even today, our main focus is direct mail for real estate investors. But it's the same thing. We're doing marketing for them. They do mail. They do it every week or every month. And if you're doing a good job, they keep coming back. And that's how you do it. If you always have, I never liked, one of the reasons I did pick printing, I did put a little thought into this, is I knew it was a product that got used up. I didn't want, my dad was a salesman. And way back when, he sold mainframe computers, the kind that filled up a room this big. And he might have one sale a year. And it wasn't repeat business. So he'd have a really good year and a really bad year. And there was no, that just seemed like it sucked. So I wanted something that was smaller incremental sales that got used up a lot. So once you build a relationship, it just keeps coming. And printing is that.
So it's kind of like, I remember when I first got into the business, real estate, the reason why I chose real estate was like with high margins, right? Not as many recurring because it takes people move every 7 years, but it was higher margins versus like insurance.
Right.
But you look back, like if I was doing insurance 20 years ago, what would my book of business look like today? Because you're only making $20 for every sale or $20 per month for every sale. But after 20 years.
That's a lot like printing because a lot of the orders are not big orders. And salesman doesn't make a huge number, but it's a lot. It just adds up. Insurance and financial, those are the two things. I always said if I didn't do this, if I had to go back and start over, I would be either an insurance guy or a financial guy because I would have hated the paperwork, but the rest of it I could handle because I'm good with numbers,
Yeah, I'm laughing because of the paperwork thing. Like today with AI, you don't have to worry about it. But man, back then, it would have been an absolute nightmare. Okay, so first year, you land a couple of accounts that turned into big accounts in the second year. And then what was it like, like the next
Oh, we grew slow. I mean, I joke around that it took me 27 years to figure out how to be successful.
Yeah.
And not that I wasn't successful. Out of the 27 years, and that took us through the Y2K crisis, had a couple major recessions. We had some down years that were really, really lean. And actually, I lost money in a handful of years, not even a handful, less than a handful. Most of the years we made money, but I wasn't getting rich. I was making a fair living, putting food on the table, had a good family, was able to live the life I want, travel, try to take a trip every quarter. I still do that to this day. I work really hard, but I like every 3 months to go somewhere and get away for 5 to 7 days, maybe a long weekend or a week long thing. I've always done that.
Mm-hmm.
And I always made time for the family. I always went to all the kids' events and all that stuff. So I never let work consume me.
Yeah.
But I work hard. But anyway, we grew steadily from the time I started, which was 1992. So I got out of working for the other company and I started my own business in 1992. And from then till 7 years ago, we went from 0 to 4 million in sales, which, still it's respectable. It's a decent sized small printing company at 4 million in sales.
So
most small printers are, 300,000, 500,000 a year. So we were good size, but still no amazing success story.
So to be clear, you're saying like 7 years ago. So like 2018, approximately.
Yeah, approximately.
4 million in total sales and annual sales.
Annual total sales, yeah.
Gotcha. Because that's what we're talking about today, right? You went from 4 to 31.
Right.
So something happened.
All right. So here's the key. And this is the key. All right. So the problem I had all those years, and I knew it, but I couldn't figure out how to solve it. The problem was in printing, this is not true of all industries, but it's true of printing. We were trying to be all things to all people, meaning I can literally put your name. You've got a logo shirt on. I do too. We do embroidery. Mm-hmm. We do shirts. We do ad specialties. We do signage, business cards, forms, labels, anything. You want to put your name on anything, we could do it. Well, that's great. And you say it's great to expand your product line, but it's not so great for sales because, what are you good at? Well, I'm good at putting your name on anything. All right. That's not a compelling story. All right. It's not like I'm going to change your life because I can print something for you. And nobody gets excited about printing either. People see it as an office expense. So when we had recessions, we got killed in recessions because they start cutting things that they don't think they need in printing is a lot of times. So I knew I had to get into marketing printing. I didn't do a lot of marketing printing back then. I did more business, running the business type printing.
Branding.
Yeah. Or manufacturing stuff. Yeah. And a lot of that stuff got cut when times got tough. Marketing, if people are smart, they don't cut it. That's a different story. We'll talk about that later. But anyway, what changed was I knew I had to find a niche and get really good at a niche so I would have a compelling story. I didn't know what that niche was. Well, that brings us to real estate. Yeah. I have been, in my entrepreneurial spirit, I started buying real estate bought my first property when I was 20 years old. And I'm not flipping houses. I never did that. I just bought a couple of rental properties. I bought the house next door to me, and I rented it out because it happened to go up for sale and I got it for a good price. So I bought it.
Yeah.
And back then I did creative financing to figure out because I didn't have any money. So I figured out how to get it, And so I've always had a handful of rental properties and I had them for a few years and I'd get sick of it and I'd sell them. And then I'd think, man, I want to get that real estate back. So I'd buy some more. And so back in 2006, I had gone through a period where I liquidated right before the 2008 crisis at the height of the market.
Oh, wow.
So I was smart about that. I didn't have a lot of properties. I think I had 6 properties and I liquidated them all.
Did you know? Or
I didn't know what crash was coming, but I knew that the prices were wildly overpriced and I thought they weren't worth it. And I thought, this is insane. This is going to crash. I got to sell. I'm going to sell while I can pocket this money. Because I had these kind of crappy 2-family flats in the South City of St. Louis, which wasn't the greatest neighborhood. And I bought these prices for like $30,000. They're worth like $150,000. And I'm thinking, there's no way they're worth this much, So I sold and I pocketed the money. Yeah. Well, then a couple of years goes by and I'm getting antsy. So in 2006, but I'd gone through managing it all myself and I didn't want to do that anymore. So I need to find a turnkey. Well, there was this company named Memphis Invest in Memphis that had this turnkey operation. So a friend of mine recommended them and I drove down there and I met him and I liked the family and I bought 6 properties from them. And they had this really easy work. And I had some money in my pocket to do that. So I did that. And that was in 2006. And through them, I met, it was the Clothier family. And there was a dad and 3 brothers. And one of the brothers was a guy named Kent Clothier. Now, the dad and the 2 of the brothers were in Memphis Invest running that company. And Kent had his own company. It was called 800 Sell Now. And he had owned, he was a franchisor for the number 1-800 Sell Now. He was selling that nationwide to real estate investors all over the nation to get the rights to that phone number in their area. Well, Well, he didn't have any kind of marketing, and he didn't have a website. He'd sell them the number. They needed business cards and signs and all this stuff. He didn't have any of that stuff. So I made a deal with him and said, tell you what, I'll build you a website and I'll create a whole bunch of materials to sell to your people that buy your number. And all I ask is that, I'll do this for free for you. And I just ask you to promote me to people. He liked that idea because he didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
And so we did that, and I started a relationship with him. And through that, I started getting to know real estate investors, and I realized there's an opportunity here. They need marketing. And he then went in from that to coaching real estate investors. And 2008 crash came, and that kind of reset everything. So it took a few years, but I started dabbling.
So he was selling 100 sell now in 08, 06, 08.
Yeah, he still sold a few years after that too. I don't remember when he got out of that, but I don't remember the number. But he kind of started graduating into coaching. And at some point, he started the Boardroom Mastermind. I think it was about 10 years ago. But anyway, I started dabbling and doing some mail for real estate investors. And his relationship kind of got me into the market. Sure. And I still have a relationship with him today. And I'm an active member in his boardroom and everything. Yeah. It's really good. It's a really good company. I mean, it's a really good organization.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I just realized there's a niche here. And so I thought, okay, this is what I've been needing all these years. So I started dabbling, having some mild success, but I was still missing the formula. Back to my explanation. So when you're all things to all people, in printing anyway, to have a salesman that's successful, you have to be a salesman. You have to be a guy that can solve a problem, then have somewhat of a creative mind to help design some kind of creative printed piece, and then be organized enough to handle the order and do everything. Well, that's like 4 different skill sets that don't usually exist in the same person. So finding somebody to do that in a salesman is almost impossible. I could do that, and my brother, who is a lot like me, he was able to do that. He works for me today. Still, he came work for me 27 years ago. But we probably hired 20 or 30 salesmen along the way, and every one of them failed. Salesmen and women, we tried both, and they all failed because it just wasn't niche enough. It was too hard. So I knew I needed to break it up into marketing and sales so I could find somebody that just have different skill sets that are more narrow.
You're saying like what they were selling because you had too many SKUs. It was
too many SKUs and too many skills to do it. You got to, a salesman, if you got to find your leads and close your leads and solve the engineering problem and design the piece. So you don't have to be the designer, but you at least got to be in the process to have some ideas. Maybe write the copy,
Oh, yeah.
And process. Since we were brokering at that time, you had to then get involved in processing the order and arranging with the contractor.
Yeah.
And then the follow-up and all that. And I did have customer service people to help out, but it was just too tough. But what we did, and I started dabbling in ways to do it. Well, the long story short is we ended up coming up with, we had the niche. I developed some mail pieces that worked, found some data sources that were working.
To be clear, the niche, meaning
real
direct mail for real estate investors that buy houses.
Yeah. We want to buy your house for cash. Everybody knows that's in real estate.
Yeah.
And so, but the thing is, how do you still got to find the leads and close the deals? How do you do that? And now, the other thing is, I was a local company selling just to the St. Louis area. Well, that's limiting. It's kind of hard. You can only go so far in a local area. Well, I wanted to find something I could go national with. So once you have a model, you can then sell that same model to other cities, just like a franchise does.
Right.
So I didn't want to do franchising, but I wanted the idea of franchising makes a lot of sense for growing a company. So long story short, long story long, I guess I'm talking a lot here, but today what we do is we do things like this. We have relationships with guys like Ken Clothier, other coaches in the industry. In fact, we have over 200 coaches we have relationships with that feed us, we make them affiliates and they feed us their students. They recommend us for direct mail. We then do our thing with the direct mail and they get an affiliate commission from that. We also do Facebook and Instagram and various social media marketing. Yeah. We also go to events ourselves. We'll go to over 80 events this year. And we either put up a booth. Sometimes we pay for them. Sometimes they're free. It depends on what it is. Yeah. We try to get on stage and speak if we can. Can't always do that, but whatever. We try to somehow be active in events, to have a presence, a physical presence there. And all that brings leads in the door. Oh, and I also have an in-house telemarketing department. So I have 12 people that work for me now that are on the phone all day setting up meetings for the sales force. And the salesmen are coaches now. We call them coaches, not salesmen. And they really are coaches. We train them in a narrow. So what I've done is they don't have to find the leads anymore, and they don't have to handle the orders. They don't have to come up with the engineering problem or the sell. I did all that for them. We came up with the system and the designs and the data and the way to mail. We have all that figured out. So they just have to sell what we already have figured out. And they coach people what's the best campaign strategy based on their needs and based on what we have to offer. And they put something together that says, okay, we think this could work for you. So it's just a very narrow area they have to get good at.
So I want to talk about that in greater detail in a moment.
Yeah.
But before we do that.
Hey, my name is Brian. I'm a real estate investor. Ian's sales training has helped me buy more houses at a deeper discount. Most recently, Ian helped me reframe a question which resulted in me buying a house for less money than other offers the seller had on the table. If you're considering sales training, I don't think you can go wrong with Ian's.
If you like what you just heard and would like similar types of success, text CLOSE to 33777 and we'll see if you qualify to join Objection-Proof Selling. We're taking good sales reps and we're making them objection-proof.
You mentioned something interesting, right? You talk about marketing. So you were doing branding pieces, stationery pieces, right? Stuff that's like, it's not a monthly sale. It's not a product that I need every month.
Exactly.
It's a product I need maybe once every year and a half, every 3 years.
Branding, that's true, yes.
Yeah, like, hey, Jeff, we're changing our logos. We've updated our logos. Can we get some new shirts? Can we get some new pens and so on? Mouse pads, whatever. I'm guessing that you did all those things.
Oh, yes.
Right. Which is not a monthly expense. So you were saying like the marketing is where, when you said like, hey, we're going to do printing for this particular niche, this is when things became consistent.
Well, it depends on what it is. We did sell, back to what I said earlier, when I was selling labels, like paint can labels, all right? It's a manufacturing plant. They're making paint cans every month.
Right.
So those were monthly orders. That was regular business. So I like that. But when you go to marketing, you're right. Things like redesigning a logo or coming up with a campaign, that's not monthly for sure. It's not regular. But things that are regular are as regular advertising. Sending out direct mail pieces every single month is regular. Okay.
Yeah.
But when I'm saying in marketing, when times get tough, one of my philosophies is you can't cut your way to success. And what happens when tough times, most companies try to cut their way to success. Times get tough. The first thing they do is they start, look at their expense, they cut everything. And they cut marketing most of the time, which is a huge mistake because you're definitely sawing off your leg when you cut marketing. And I don't believe in that, okay? I'll cut office supplies and stuff like that. Maybe you reduce your staff a little bit, do whatever you got to do. But when it comes to marketing, in fact, that's another story we'll talk about. I just finished my 26th acquisition in 27 years just last week. One of the things I've done when times got tough, I started acquiring other companies too. When they're hurting, it's the time for me to go and acquire them. That's another story. But anyway, point is, when you're tied to marketing, if you have a system that works, it does work for the customer, where they're getting leads or whatever you're trying to sell them, they're getting that, they're happy with it, they're going to keep coming back. And so that's not so tied to recessions like other things are. So it's a more steady thing. And it's a story you can tell, because now I can say, hey, Mr. Real Estate Investor, you want to get more leads and make more money and get more deals, come to us because we can help you get more leads that lead to more deals, that leads to more money. And that's a story that I can get excited about, okay? And I can sell that. I can't say, hey, we can do your printing. That's not real exciting.
Well, and I bring this up because, so we have the sales training component, right? And then we roll out an AI product. We do 3 different things with our AI. We do call reviews, automatic call reviews, right? After every single appointment, we automatically review the calls. We also do role-playing bots, right? So like you can practice, you got 5 different bots right now. You can practice every single day, get better at sales. But those things are not, you can't tie it directly to revenue. Those are things that we know improve revenue, but we can't say we got this sale because of this call or because of this role play. The last thing we have is the AI lead manager, which will call all your new leads. That one everyone's excited about because that we can tie to revenue. That one we can see, okay, a lead came in at 5 o'clock on Saturday. AI called them, booked an appointment. Sunday, we contracted property. That's going to be $20K in revenue. We can tie that house to that AI tool to turn to revenue. Everything else is like, yeah, we know it helps, but we feel like it helps.
It's really hard to get attribution. We struggle with this in our business. We spend a lot of money on technology, and we use HubSpot for CRM now. It costs me $100,000 a year just for HubSpot. And it tracks everything, okay? But even with all that tracking, it's very difficult to sometimes tie A to B to C to figure out, did A really get to C? So it's hard, but you do the best you can.
Well, you do the best you can, but once you tie it, once we know this is marketing related, this is going to lead to appointments, leads to opportunities, to contracts, to revenue. It's an easier sell. And I'm bringing this up because you're saying like, to go from 4 million a year to 31 million, we're talking about, to grow 27 in 7 years. Would you say the biggest thing was finding the niche, finding the marketing, or
combination, right? So the first thing is the niche, okay? Getting really good at one thing and being the best, better than anybody in that one thing. Mm-hmm. All right, I think that's important for any company to find something they're really good at and then be the best. Mm-hmm. Because when you're the best, you got a story to tell, right? Yeah. That's different than just saying, well, I can do that, and I can do this, and I can do this. We can do 25 things. Mm-hmm. And I'm not the best in any of them, but I can do anything, okay? Yeah. That's not really a very compelling story.
Sure.
So be the best at something, get a niche, and then find the formula to make it work. Like what you just said about your system. You got to get a lead, you got to nurture the lead, you have to talk to the lead, you got to close the lead, you got to come back to them later to get an order again. All that stuff is part of the system. You have to figure out what that system is for your product. And then once you have that, then the last component is putting fuel on the fire. Mm-hmm. So the reason we grew so fast, once I had the first two, then I just started hiring as fast as I could hire. Mm-hmm. And I started expanding as fast as I could hire.
So
reinvesting profits into more affiliates, more events, more salesmen, more callers, more ad spend. Mm-hmm. And it just seemed for like a 3-year period, I was at like a vertical growth period. And we're just doing more of the same thing. But what happened is it was working. So what then also happened to us, we kind of almost went viral within the real estate industry because our stuff was working. Mm-hmm. And because we're going to all these events, we're everywhere. And so people say, I heard of REI Print Mail. I heard of you guys. You know? Even if they don't know anything about us, they heard of us.
Yeah.
So then when the cold caller calls or the salesman talks to them, it's an easier yes just because they heard of us. That's what the whole social media thing's all about. That's what marketing's about in general anyway. One of the things I talk about when I talk about marketing is the object of marketing is to touch somebody often enough that when it comes time for them to buy what it is you have to sell, they think of you first. Right. That's marketing, okay? So the more you can put your name in front of people, the better chance you're going to get yes.
Yeah.
And so that's what really has, all that together has been why we've exploded.
So let's just break that down more granularly, right? So you work with Kent. He's got excellent influence, impact. He's putting you in front of real estate investors. Mm-hmm. And now you've got the niche. You know what works on the direct mail side. Now you say, all right, let's hire more salespeople. Let's get more affiliates. Let's hire more salespeople. Let's get more affiliates. Mm-hmm. This is basically, I mean, we're really getting we're at high level. It's really simple, but that's basically what we're doing.
It is. Now you have to justify every investment. We don't do it all at once. I didn't go from one sales guy. I have 16 sales guys now. So I didn't go from 1 to 16 in a month. Okay. It's one guy at a time. Okay. Yeah. So, and anytime you invest in marketing or a new person, it's an investment. Mm-hmm. So you have to justify that investment. It's always a risk because when you hire somebody, nobody is instantly successful. Even as good as our system is, they don't go from zero to making a bunch of money in the first month. It doesn't work that way. Okay. Yeah. There's a ramp up period. We can usually get a salesman we pay a draw. So we have a guaranteed amount of salary for like 6 months and we turn it to a draw. Well, usually if they do what we tell them to do within 6 months, they can be above their draw. Mm-hmm. So they never look back then. And then they're making whatever they really want to make.
Yeah.
We basically pay straight commission, but we help them out in the beginning. But anyway, that's an investment. You hire a new guy, you're committing. It depends on what you got to hire them at. People come at different levels depending on their skill set and what you got to hire to bring them in. But let's say you pay a guy $60,000 a year, well, you're going to put at least 30 grand out before you really know if he's any good or not. Because it takes about 6 months to figure that out. You got to give him enough road to really figure it out. And we have to give him enough road so we can train them properly and make sure we've given them all the skills that they need. Even though our system is a lot easier than it used to be, it still takes some time to learn it all,
So let's talk about the worst, maybe not the worst, but the most memorable, flame out of a salesperson you hired. Because you've hired a lot. You got 16 now.
Yeah.
To have 16 now, I don't know how many hundreds you've gone through.
Not hundreds of salespeople, but I have hired. We had our 30th anniversary 3 years ago, and I made a speech to the company, and I was thinking about all the people that came and went over the years, and it was over 100.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe it. I'm thinking 100 people. Are you kidding me? That's impossible. Mm-hmm. but it's all one at a time. It's not all at once. And when you hire, you have the best of intentions for everybody.
Of course. But was there one that you're like, man, this guy is going to be awesome. He's going to change our business. And like, we don't have to name names, but it's like, wow, that wasn't even close to what was.
Yeah, that's happened more than once, unfortunately. So I have found, and I don't know if it's just luck, but I have had more luck hiring people that don't have college degrees and that are really hungry, that have been struggling. Those are my best guys. Okay. The guys that have all this education and everything, those tend to not be my best guys. And I don't know if it's entitlement. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
But guys that are hungry do the best.
It's funny. If I'm hiring for sales, the college degree is kind of a blemish.
Kind of a negative, right? I feel the same way. When I see it on a resume, it's a black mark.
Yeah. But if I'm hiring you for operations, like it's a plus.
Yeah.
And then right now what we're trying to do, we're trying to scale and build. At some point it's like, I hate Ivy Leaguers, but like we're gonna get to a point where like if we're gonna try to sell this company for 9 figures, I'm gonna need, I think.
Well, they're really smart usually, so you need really smart people.
Yeah, so we're gonna get to that point. But yeah, I'm with you on it right now. Like,
but the flame out, I don't know. I've had so many stories. I mean, some of the stories I couldn't even say on this thing, but
after the cameras are off,
I've had people steal from me. I mean, unfortunately, I've had more than one embezzling issue.
Really?
Yeah.
How do they embezzle?
Sales, I have 2 different sales guys steal from me, and they were doing it through falsifying expense reports. That's how we're doing it.
I see.
And taking flights that weren't business flights and writing it off on the company. And we didn't have very good controls, unfortunately. And so they didn't get away with it forever. I eventually figured it out, but they got away with it for a while. And then, that's unfortunate. I've had 2 different bookkeepers steal from me as well. So in fact, just about every businessman that I know that's been around any time at all has had at least one embezzling situation in their career. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's a part of business that you don't like it. But luckily, none of these deals were huge money. So it's not like it was hundreds of thousands of dollars. But it was still theft, and it was still enough to justify getting rid of somebody. If I can't trust somebody, then they're gone.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't care if it's the smallest thing. If I can't trust you, forget it.
Yeah. Okay, so then let's talk about 16, and you guys are doing well right now. And I think Ryan is on your team. Is that right?
Ryan Dixon, yeah.
Okay, Ryan. So obviously he's helpful as well.
He's my vice president of sales, yeah.
So what are you doing today to make sure, like, to maximize the possibility and potential of the salesperson? What are you doing now to make sure you get the right people in? Well,
one thing we do that I really believe in is testing. We do personality and aptitude testing for everybody, not just salespeople. Anybody that I hire, I have a company that I use. It's an online company, but it's called Criteria. And they've got a battery of tests, and they've got a pretty slick system. And so when we interview somebody, I don't do it right away, but if we look at their resumes and if they kind of get past that stage, then we'll send them a link to take these tests. And it's 3 tests that are both personality and aptitude. They're not hard. It takes about a half an hour. But it gives you an idea on paper what's behind the curtain. And I didn't used to do aptitude. That was something that's relatively new in the last couple of years. But I'd find, especially for salespeople, I'd have a person has a perfect personality for sales, and they're it says hire this person, but they're not smart. Okay. And I found you have to have some level of intelligence. You don't have to be a genius, but you can't be a dummy either.
Right.
And so I found if I just go for personality, I often had failures, even though it said hire the guy. When I added the smarts part of it, I have been really good at hiring people and them not failing. We're about 80% of successful.
80%.
Yeah, we're really good.
That's remarkable.
People. But it's a combination. And I have to pat ourselves on the back. And I have to pat Ryan on the back. Ryan is an excellent manager. And he's really good at the culture and supporting people mentally. Because guys, it's an up and down thing, and guys get down. And if they're down too long, they'll destroy themselves. And they shouldn't, but they do.
Yeah.
And so you really have to worry about the culture and the mentality. And I focus a lot on company culture. It's a big thing. Our company's a good place to work. Nobody quits. We have, we fire people, but I can't say nobody's ever quit, but it's rare because it's a good place to work, and we pay people fairly. And we're not the high end of the wage scale, but we're not the low end either. It's above average, but it's fun. We're not looking at, I give people, my philosophy is my door is always open. You got a problem, come to me, but I leave you alone. And all my managers do. We give people the tools they need to do their job, and we leave them alone. We let them do their job.
Yeah.
And then we oversee it, but it's not looking over their shoulder every minute of every day because nobody likes that.
Right.
And culture's a big deal. We have quarterly parties just to have fun, and I don't know. What are we doing today? I use the hiring thing. When we hire, we just put ads in Indeed. It's nothing fancy. Or one of my top sales guy was a coach at a gym that I go to, and he was just a guy kind of running the class. It's like a boot camp class, and he was running it. And the guy, I went there for like a year, and this guy really is a nice guy. He seems like a hustler because I got to know him over a year, and he had like 3 different gigs going, but he wasn't making much money. And I thought this guy would be a good salesman. So I approached him and I said, hey, what do you think about coming to work as a salesman for me? And he'd never done sales, but long story short, a very short period of time, he was one of my top guys. He's been with me for a couple of years now. And so we've been pretty good. Ryan does the same thing. We're pretty good at identifying people in our lives that we come across that we think that person might be a good salesperson. But we also put ads out. And we, not just sales, it's any job, but we put ads and then we do the personality testing. And then we look at social media too. Before I hire somebody, I look at their social media, make sure there's nothing on there that seems crazy, that it would not fit in with our culture. And I don't know. So
talk about the 6 months, because 6 months of runway, like if you come in and join a real estate investor organization, 2 months, 3 months max. Right.
That's not enough time. You can't, if you put too much pressure on somebody, they freak out, and that's part of the idea. You got to give them enough runway that they're going to relax. And it's not like I say, okay, you got 6 months or you're fired. It's not even that. It's just that we show them this is what other people have done. I keep track of all kinds of stats from month 1 to wherever I got there, and every person's ever worked for me. And I can say, here's all the guys, here's our top guys, here's what their path looked like. Here's the medium guys, here's the low guys, here's the guy that didn't make it. So if you get somewhere in this range, you should be successful. Then we have regular one-on-ones, weekly one-on-ones with them. I don't, but the sales manager does. And he's going over, what's going on? What are you thinking? We listen to calls. One good thing about HubSpot and AI, that has been the best. AI has been great. Okay, we're embracing AI in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Because the calls all get recorded automatically. We use a system called AirCall where you got to call everything through that. It automatically records a call and transcribes it and summarizes it in bullet points. So we can very quickly review calls without having to listen to every minute of every call. And that really has been very helpful. So we do it, how your call's doing. And if a guy's struggling, we do a deeper dive in how the call's going, Oh, here's your problem. Like asking for the money. We got a guy right now. He's an extremely impressive guy. He's been with me about 6-8 months. Doing okay, but he's not doing as well as he should be doing. I don't get it because he talks great, he looks great, he makes a great presentation. Everything's great except for asking for the money. His way of asking for the money was terrible, and he couldn't do it. And we finally realized that and found out that's his head trash. He thinks asking, hey, you got a credit card? He thinks that's like being a jerk. So he can't do that. And it's his own head trash because it's not, And so we've been coaching him to get around that. And just in a couple of weeks of coaching him, he's already doing better.
Yeah.
But it took us a while to identify that, because it wasn't obvious. So I don't know. It's a lot of things. There's not even one thing.
So we've been talking about the sales. Let's jump into culture.
Okay.
So you're saying you're really big on culture. What does that mean to be really big on culture?
Well, I think first of all, you have to be, as a boss, you can't be a jerk. Okay. There's a lot of bosses that are jerks. And what I mean by that is, what is a jerk? I don't know. That's a general term, but it's what I said earlier. I have high expectations. I lay out, this is what I expect you to do. Go do it. Okay. And we'll watch over it. We'll correct some things, but even when we correct, like for instance, in printing, errors happen in printing. Every job starts with a blank piece of paper and you can screw it up. Okay. People screw up all the time, unfortunately. I wish that didn't happen, but it does. Most of the time, it's our customers' mistakes because we're pretty good at doing everything right. We have proofs and everything. But even so, we make mistakes sometimes. Well, when somebody makes a mistake, I'm not coming down on them and yelling and screaming at them. Even if it's the stupidest mistake ever, I will never do that. And I have a very even keel as a personality. I can't think of I can't think of the times I've lost my temper more than 5 times in my entire life. I just don't do it. So that helps because people know that it's okay to make a mistake. You're not going to lose your job. They're not going to yell at you. They're not going to chastise you. They'll let's see what you did. Let's learn from the mistake. Let's not do that again. It makes a big difference. That alone is a good way to keep a positive culture. And we do things, I said we try to have quarterly parties, get everybody together. Because in any kind, when I worked for Procter & Gamble, I saw this too. I worked in a manufacturing plant in Cape Girardeau. There was 1,200 manufacturing people. And I was an engineer at the manufacturing plant. Well, even though we were in manufacturing, all they did was complain about the idiots at the home office that didn't know how to run the company. Because all the manufacturing guys thought they knew what they were doing. And the sales guys were the idiots and the corporate guys are idiots, And they would complain because we'd send them a big order and they'd have to work overtime to get the order out. And they're complaining about that. What do you mean you're complaining? You wouldn't have a job if they didn't sell that order,
Right.
But they didn't see it that way. So every organization that's kind of big has different sections of it that don't necessarily get along. So we try to do quarterly events to get everybody to just kind of see each other outside of the office to say, hey, these guys they're nice guys. Maybe they're not idiots and we're all working together. We're all make sure that the production guys understand that they wouldn't have a job if the sales guys didn't sell. And if the art people didn't do their job and all that stuff. So you have to work at that. It doesn't happen automatically.
Is everyone local?
Yeah.
All the sales guys?
All but one. I bought a company. One of my acquisitions was a company named REI Vault that I bought almost 4 years ago now, and they were a remote company. And so I inherited a remote business. So I have people in the Philippines and in India, and there's a guy in California that manages that.
Got it.
So, but other than that, everybody's in St. Louis. And I don't like remote, by the way. I'm not a fan of remote work. However, I bought the company and I knew that's what I was getting. So
let's talk about that. Why are you not a fan?
I just think it's hard. For my culture, being in the same building is important. We did have another sales guy that we recently let go that was remote. And you don't know what they're doing. You just don't know if they're really working. I mean, you can look at the numbers, you get an idea, but you really don't know what they're doing. It's just way harder to coach them. When they're in the office with you, they're right down the hall. You know what they're doing. They come to you. I mean, our business, probably, I don't know if your business, but we're wheeling and dealing all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have price list and all that stuff, but it's always, we're at 65 cents and the guy wants to do it for 62 cents. Can we do it? And so there's an endless line of people, either my office or the manager's office, saying, hey, I got a deal. How can we make this work?
Yeah.
But when you're right down the hall, it's real easy. It's not that you can't do that remotely. It's just way harder. And we found
you got a buzz inside the office.
The buzz it makes a difference. It really does. Especially when guys are down. You're remote by yourself in your house. Like, I don't even like it. I own the company. I can do anything I want. Sometimes I'll work at home because I do a lot of writing. Or if I have to create things, I don't want to get interrupted. Sometimes I'll stay home for a couple hours in the morning. And after a couple hours, I'm ready to go to the office. Yeah. I like being in the office. I like being in the environment around other people because it makes me feel good.
Right.
So,
okay. So you're doing quarterly events. You want to bring people together to eliminate this us versus them. Because I think that is one of the things that's most toxic in larger companies.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like, that department, this department. It's not because of us. It's because of them.
Right.
I think it's one of the most toxic things. Anything else you're doing to breed great culture?
Well, I do that. Not only do we have events, not all the parties. It's me constantly on a regular basis. I will have meetings I'll have a meeting with the production department and I'll explain, like I let production know what we're doing in marketing. So they have an idea. It's not like it's this blind thing and just the orders just show up and they have no idea where they came from. Yeah. I let them know, hey, we hired this guy. We're doing this marketing campaign. This may or may not work. I just bought a company, whatever it might be. And so they all feel like they're part of it. And then I get them involved. Hey, we're going to be doing this. What do you think? This is what I'm thinking. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
And I'm always open for ideas too. Yes, I'm a strong leader and I have a lot of ideas about a lot of things. I'm very opinionated. However, I am open to other people's ideas. And if a good idea is a good idea, I don't care if it's somebody else's idea. Oh, that's another thing I do too, is I make sure people get credit for their ideas, no matter who it is. I go out of my way to do that, to say, hey, Joe in production came up with this idea and I think that's a great idea. We're going to do that. And let everybody know that. Because I think that's important. People want to be recognized.
Want the credit.
Yeah.
They want the credit. That's one of the things that you hear griping is like, oh, they just took my idea and took all the credit.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the marketing side. And when I'm talking about let's start off with the affiliate side. So you're talking about this formula that works. You said you 80 events last year or this year?
This year we're doing, I don't know exactly, between 60 and 80. Yeah.
A lot of freaking events.
It is.
Yeah. So talk to me about this model of working with the coaches. Like, obviously you saw that I work with Kent. Is this something like, all right, that worked. Let's just double down on this and we're not going to do any other marketing? What do you?
No, we do a little bit of everything. what I said earlier, you have to get your name in front of people in different ways all the time. You want people to feel like they see you everywhere. And that's social media tries to do that for you. They try to take care of that for you. That's what retargeting is all about. Yeah. But you still have to make an effort to do that outside of social media. And we have found, honestly, although we spend money on social media, it hasn't been very productive marketing in terms of the orders we get from that aren't very profitable and the people don't stay around very long. We don't find them to be good prospects usually. However, it's hard to measure, but I think the fact they see you helps.
It's kind of like billboards.
Yeah.
Like you can't really tie revenue to billboards.
Yeah.
But it makes everything else easier to convert.
Exactly. Or TV and radio is the same way. I work with a guy that does TV and radio advertising. We talk about this all the time. People that do TV and radio in real estate, they don't do, the orders they get from that aren't that great, but all their other mail and everything works way better.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they see you. It's just about what I said earlier. It's about those impressions help people say yes easier. Because people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. Okay. And if they feel like they trust you because they've seen your name 10 other times, it's easier for them to say yes. So, but anyway, back to the affiliates. So there's a lot of ways to do that too. So there's not even one formula.
Who is responsible for the affiliate relationship?
Well, we just had one of our callers. We didn't have an affiliate manager until 3 months ago. We now have an affiliate manager, which is one of our callers who was really good. And she was looking for a little bit more, but she didn't want to go in sales. So she is now, and we're still learning how to do this right now, but she's
Me too.
Trying to.
That's why I'm asking these questions.
Yeah, trying to, because we just had all these affiliates. So what happened before is the sales guys, they go to all these events. The thing naturally happens is we tell the sales guys, you need to go find a couple of affiliates. That's part of what we expect. And I can't give them leads for affiliates. They got to go into the world, the internet, wherever they go, or ask their customers, who do you know? Hey, Steve's a good guy. He's got a podcast or he's got an event. And so they'll do that and they try to figure out, can we go to that event? Do we have to pay? Do we go for free? What if we make an affiliate and we'll pay you a percentage? Can I go to the event for free? We do all that stuff. We try to get somebody to say yes. But the pitch to the affiliate is, look, you're trying to teach people how to be successful in real estate. They need leads, okay? Direct mail works for getting leads. There are other things that work too, but it is a tried and true method to get leads. So do you have a direct mail source that you recommend? Most of them don't. And so, well, recommend us and we will make you, I tell the affiliates, we will make you look good. Because if we can help your people be successful, they're going to make more money. They're going to think your coaching's awesome. They're going to come back.
Right.
And when you recommend us and we do a good job, they're going to think you're a genius because they say, yeah, those REI print mail guys are great. I love you. So that's the promise. Now we have to deliver on that.
Of course.
And that's part of what we try to do. I'm not going to say we're perfect. We don't always make everybody rich, but our track record's pretty good. Most people, if they give us a chance to do what we do well. But anyway, so that's it. And you get the guy, hopefully a guy says, yeah, let's try that out. It's usually, we'll just try an event. We'll see what happens. Come to the event, And sometimes we'll put up a booth if they have that. Sometimes they don't. It just depends on what it is. If it's a mastermind, a lot of times masterminds don't have booths. Like the boardroom, for instance, they don't do booths. It's a mastermind. Yeah. So you just get in there and you participate in the mastermind and you do the best you can to network, however you can do that. And you hopefully get a few customers out of it and they have a good experience. And they start talking to other people, and then that's the whole referral thing.
Right.
So that's one way, and then there's other ways. We're experimenting now with buying literally influence. Like I got 2 or 3 influencers that we're looking at to literally buy their time because they don't just give it away. And so we're saying, all right, we're going to buy some time, and you're going to like what we're doing. We got a couple guys right now that we're doing. I'm drawing a total blank. Test campaigns where we're say. They're not big direct mail guys. They don't have a lot of experience in direct mail, but they got a huge following. But they don't want to recommend us if they don't have some experience. There are real estate guys, but they're not using direct mail. So we're doing a test campaign to prove to them that direct mail works with their own experience in their own real estate business. Yeah. Hopefully that's good. We've got one that it's early in the test, but it's going really well. One, it's too early to tell. We don't know. But hopefully we'll prove that. And then we're paying them to recommend us. So we'll see how that works. I don't know. But the ones that do the best are the people, like we got Josh and Tiffany Hyde that do really well. And they use direct mail in a big way for their own business. And that's their favorite way to market. And they have a coaching business and they stand at the top of the mountain and say, direct mail works and these guys are awesome. And we use them and we get great results. And they do that every single day. And so the people they push to us are already pre-sold. And the yeses are high percentage of close rate because they're pre-sold.
Gotcha.
A couple other guys do that too. A lot of the affiliates think what doesn't work, I'll tell you this, is to say, okay, I got a website and we got a page, we got some affiliates or some referral partners. We'll give you a page on that. And then there you go. It doesn't do anything. Okay. It just, literally,
sounds like
we get
learned from
almost
experience.
nothing from that. All right.
Yeah.
Because people they're not just going to go look at the website and see a logo or a name and say, okay, I'm going to click on that guy, get excited about it. It just doesn't. I'm not saying it never works, but for sure the ROI sucks. If you're paying money for it, especially. Somebody does it for free. Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But even if it's free, in printing, for years, people always come to me and say, a lot of golf tournaments, can you give me some free printing for my golf tournament? And the golf tournaments always have a program and they'll ask for it for free and they'll say, we'll give you a page ad in the golf book. And I'm saying, guys, keep the page. I don't care. I'll give it to you for free, but I don't need the page. I don't care. Because I've never in my entire career gotten one single new customer out of an ad from a golf tournament book.
It's amazing
Yes.
how many phone calls I've gotten over the years. I'm like, hey, we'll put you in this book in our golf. I don't even know where you even get the book, right? When you're golfing.
Well, they give it out when they're.
But you don't keep
nobody
it.
looks at it. That's the point. It's just a bunch of ads. Who's looking at that? Who cares?
Yeah.
It goes in the trash. It's in the back of your cart while you're playing. And it goes in the trash at the end of the round, and that's it.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. I think I don't know that's probably the worst one because I get the shopping cart ones as well. Also, right? Back when I was a realtor. But yeah, I would say the golf ones. Why?
But I will say, when it comes to marketing in our world, I can't speak for other worlds, but the only way it really works when it comes to affiliate marketing is they have to push you on a regular basis. And for them to really push you, they have to have a personal experience that they feel good about. If they don't have a personal experience, they're kind of lying if they push you. And most people don't want to lie. So they got to say, man, I use this all the time and it's the truth. And they got to really feel good that we really are going to do a good job. And if you have those two formulas together, it works really well.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we've got a lot of affiliates that have had that experience. So that's been part of our reason for growth.
So I want to move on to talking about how you've acquired 26 companies and why direct mail with REI Print Mail. But before we do that, guys, this episode is brought to you by Beck CFO, the go-to tax and CFO firm for real estate entrepreneurs. If you're making money in real estate and you're not confident you're paying the least amount legally possible in taxes, you need Beck CFO. They specialize in entity structuring, tax strategies, and CFO level support that saves their clients thousands every year. And guys, I use them for tax planning and you should too. So book a free consultation at beckcfo.com. So this stat really jumped out at me here.
Okay.
Acquired 26 companies. So I've got a lot of very envious because this is one of the things I want to do. Someone asked me if you had a big exit, what would you do? It's I'll probably just start buying a bunch of companies. I really liked how Marcus Lemonis, with the profit, he just owns between 30 and 51% of all these companies, and they all use each other's services. So when I saw this, I was like, man, that's really cool. We got to talk about this. So 26 companies, what is going on? If you're a real estate investor with a sales team and you're stuck babysitting reps instead of growing your business, this is for you. Right now, your reps are burning through your expensive leads like they're practice dummies. They're making costly mistakes you won't catch for weeks, and 70% of your potential revenue is walking to competitors because of inconsistent follow-up. That's why over 130 operators are now using objectionproof.ai to automatically review every single call within minutes, train reps with AI roleplay sessions, and never miss another follow-up. Stop watching your competitors pull ahead while you're trapped doing manager work. Click the link in the description and book a call with my team to see how we can help you install a self-managing sales team this week.
All right, so what started that is out of survival. It started back, I don't remember exactly what year, but I told you earlier I was a broker or a distributor. I bought and resold. So I did that for about 10 years. And it got tougher and tougher to do that because printing it's a low margin business. It's a race to the bottom. People are they don't know how to do anything but give you a cheaper price. So, and that's also the problem when you don't have a niche. It's a race to the bottom, okay?
Yeah.
Just like Amazon. If you're on Amazon, everything's a race to the bottom on Amazon because nobody has anything but price. So if you have a niche that you're really good, you can justify charging more because you're really good at what you do and you can justify it. So that's important. Well, anyway, it was getting tougher and tougher to be a broker because that's all it was. And I didn't have a niche at that point. So I decided I need to get into manufacturing. Well, one of my manufacturers I was working with was a small print company named Zert Printing. And so long story short, I bought him and brought him. And he didn't have any salesmen. he was relying on guys like us to bring in business, but that was sort of drying up too. So the timing was right. I didn't know anything about buying companies back then. I didn't have any money. But I was able to do a deal with him where I didn't have to put any money up front. I paid him over time. And he moved his entire business into my building. We actually got a bigger building. And then I was renting, I didn't own it, but we rented a bigger space. He came in and now I'm in manufacturing. And I knew nothing about manufacturing. He did. So I just brought him in, he ran the manufacturing. I still ran the sales arm of it. And I thought, wow, this worked good. And it worked really good. And he was about a $600,000 company back when I was about a $2 million company. So that was a pretty big increase, almost 25% increase in my business in one chunk. And since he brought his entire customer base, we didn't lose any business. He brought it all. It was easy transition. So then I thought graphic design was another sticking point because I was using freelance graphic designers and it was really a pain in the butt. So that was something I needed to bring in-house too. So I bought a small graphic design company. Same deal. I was able to do it for almost no money down. So I thought, wow, this really works. Well, then I just decided, you know what? I like this model. And I wasn't, like I said earlier, I was not having good luck hiring sales guys. So I thought, rather than hire guys, I'll just buy the business. That's easier. Okay. And maybe I'll get lucky and get a sales guy to come with it too. That's already trained and already knows how to do it. So I started, but then I used direct mail. And I thought, you know what? Rather than, those kind of fell in my lap because I knew the people. But I wanted to buy another one. I didn't know anybody. So I decided to buy a list of all the printers in the whole St. Louis area within 50 miles of St. Louis. And I sent them a letter saying, hey, I'm a small printing company. I'm looking to acquire somebody else. I'm not a broker. I'm an actual guy that wants to expand his business. If you're looking to retire or you're just losing money, you're sick of the rat race, give me a call. We'll work something out. And I sent a letter out and I got 2 or 3 calls and I was able to find a deal out of that made sense. And I started doing that every year. I did like one deal a year every year. And then when 2008 crash, I bought 2 companies that year because that killed 65% of printers went out of business that year. It just devastated the printing industry. Yeah. And so I was able to get things for next to nothing. I never had to put hardly any money up for anything. I would put maybe a small down payment, but I always worked it out over time. Yeah. I couldn't make every deal. Some people, they thought their company was worth more than it was. I like Shark Tanks. If you watch Shark Tank, those aren't really realistic deals in a lot of cases because they overpay almost every time. Yeah. But in the real world, one of my mantras is I got to make all my money back. Whatever I put up, I got to make it back in 1 year. I'm not looking at a 5-year payback because it's too unknown. There's no contracts in printing. It's too unknown. I got to get my investment back in 1 year. So if I can't make the deal work so I can get it back in 1 year, forget it. There's no deal. Now the payoff sometimes was longer than 1 year, but I wanted whatever I put out, my cash, I got that back in 1 year. Yeah. So it was profitable for me after 12 months.
That's a pretty good model.
Yeah. And the one I just did a deal last week I closed. It's the best deal I ever closed. And this guy had been pursuing for 5 years. He put it up for sale 5 years ago and he wanted $1 million for his company. It was a $1.2 million, and he wanted $1 million for it. But he had huge profit margins, which is not normal in the printing business. And I didn't believe him. I thought the guy was fudging the books. It seemed too good to be true. And so he wouldn't go for my normal model, so we couldn't make a deal. But I kept in touch with him because I thought, I think there's something there. But he's got to come down this price. So 5 years passed. I kept in touch with him about once a year. I just happened to call the guy about a month ago, my annual thing. And this time he says, guess what? I'm ready. And his million came down to 400,000. And now he's a $1.6 million company. And his numbers are still just as good. And so, but what happened, the difference is his motivation. He wasn't ready back then. Now he's ready to retire. And he's got several other businesses. He's just trying to liquidate everything because he wants to retire. He's older and he doesn't care about the money anymore. He just wants somebody to take it over and take the grief off his hands. And so I was able to make the deal. It took 5 years to do that one, but that's going to be very profitable. That one I'm getting my money back in 6 months. So
really?
Yes.
That's fun.
Yeah. And that doesn't happen very often, but it's just because I had the wherewithal to know that this is a deal that I maybe could eventually make.
But these are all.
I've had a couple of those happen that way where I pursued them for several years and eventually came through.
These are all in printing then? Printing,
yeah. So what I didn't do, all right, in real estate, guys teach this, okay, and I think it's smart. They'll say if you're a real estate house flipper, you need title companies, you need construction, and there's like potentially 10 different services in a real estate transaction. And if you buy a company in every one of those niches, you can take a piece of that entire transaction. And that's smart. I'm not doing that, okay? I'm just buying other failing companies, not necessarily failing, but they're people that are either failing or the guy's retiring. and they're closing shop, and I don't care about their stuff anymore. I got all the equipment I need. I just want their customers.
It's buying the book of business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I do it if I can make the deal work for me, I do it. If I don't, I shake hands and we walk away.
Yeah.
And I made 26 deals, and I've probably looked at 50 that I didn't make,
It's interesting. There's this, today you kind of have this roll-up model where like you're buying all the companies, and then because you have a larger revenue model, larger revenue, you can now sell it at a larger multiple.
Right.
You've been doing this forever, decades. So it's like it's popular now. It's been popular the last few years, but you've been doing this.
You just have to. It's about, you have to be creative. I've always been really good at seeing deals where nobody else sees it.
Mm-hmm.
Not only in acquiring companies, just in general, in marketing and whatever. I'm really good at seeing something that other people don't see, that look at the same data. And I don't know. It's just a gift I have, I guess. But
yeah.
And I never, no matter what, I have an open mind to anything.
Mm-hmm.
But even if a deal seems like it's crazy, this will never work, I don't just turn away and walk away. I'll still pursue it to at least get far enough down the road to see if really there is something, or maybe there isn't anything.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just it's worked for me. It just really has. So there's a guy named Roland Frazier that actually had me on about 3 years ago. He started a whole business in teaching people how to buy companies for pretty much no money.
Right.
And I was his first guest he ever had on his podcast to talk about how I did it. So it's just about being creative, being open-minded and creative, and realize any kind of a sale, two people have to win. If it's not a win-win transaction, there is no transaction. And I always tell my sales guys, if there's no pain, there's no sale. So you have to find the pain and you have to solve the pain. And if you can do that and make it win-win, then you have a deal. If you can't, there's no deal. Exactly. Well, it's the same thing when you're buying a company. The person selling it needs something. You got to figure out what that is. Then can you give that to them? And if you can, you can work it out. If you can't, then you can't. And there's many different ways to work things out. There's a million different models. You just got to be creative in how to do that.
And then one of the things that I saw here is you do millions of pieces of mail a month.
We're between 3 and 4 million a month right now. We've been doing that at that rate for a couple of years. So
a lot of freaking mail.
It is.
So
we have a box truck that gets filled up every single day to the post office, sometimes twice a day.
So one of the things that I heard you say, something along the lines of, you're not using direct mail. You're
not using direct mail as part of your comprehensive marketing strategy. You're leaving money on the table. And I've been saying that for years. So what does that mean?
Yeah. So elaborate on that.
So what I'm talking about, all right, I talked about earlier, my company uses all different kinds of marketing, okay? And I also use direct mail. Obviously, I'm in direct mail. I believe multi-touch marketing makes sense. But in the real estate space, a high percentage of the people that you're looking for to make deals are older people, senior citizens that have lived in their house for many years, decades, probably haven't fixed up the house. They're getting old, and maybe it takes too much to fix up the house to sell it retail. Or they die, or they get sick and go to a nursing home, or whatever. That's a high, and they have a lot of equity. So that's a target market. Well, older people tend to not be technically savvy. They're definitely not going to Google, searching on Google to find somebody to buy their house, okay? And so, but they are going to their mailbox and they're reading their mail. In fact, the post office did a study a few years ago. 92% of Americans still go to their mailbox and they still pull out the mail and they still read it, okay? Even millennials, the young people, like mail. Even though they're all glued to their phones, they like mail because it's like cool to get a mailer with your name on it, okay? And they actually pay attention to it, okay?
Yeah.
So it works. Well, if you're using, and we see this all the time, these different masterminds, everybody wants the latest, coolest thing, all right? That button, the magic button they can press, and they get all these leads and they get rich, okay? Everybody wants that. And they think the answer's on the internet because there's people all over the place advertising that, whether there's start an Amazon business, start a whatever. You see it all over the place. I made $8,000 the first month, and you don't have to do anything. You sit at home in your chair and the money just rolls in, and it's mostly all BS.
Right.
But that's what people got in their mind. They think it's possible. So when it comes to marketing, they think the same thing. So people are drawn to this electronic answer. And I'm not saying it doesn't work, but what I found in my career, the electronic stuff, it comes and it goes, and it comes and it goes really quick, okay? Whatever works today doesn't usually work tomorrow.
Yeah.
And there's some new thing. You don't know what that is, and it never has a long-term thing. And whether it's cold calling, cold texting, pay-per-click, pay-per-lead, space ads, whatever, all this stuff, I'm not saying it doesn't work, but it doesn't necessarily work for everybody. And even if you have something, this is where the you're leaving money on the table thing comes in. Let's say you're doing pay-per-click advertising and it's working for you and you're happy, you're getting deals, you're making money, but you want to ramp up. But you can't make somebody click. You can give Google, hey, I'm spending 10 grand a month. I want to spend 20 grand a month. They may not spend the 20 grand because if there's not enough clicks, there's not enough clicks. You can't make them click. Or the lead quality goes down because of whatever their algorithm is. They don't tell you what their algorithm is, but I know this from experience. Just spending more money in Google doesn't double the leads. It just doesn't work that way. You don't know how it works. They don't tell you. Point is, if you want to expand, the guy that doesn't go to Google to buy a house, no matter how much money you spend on Google, you're never going to sell to that guy because he's never going to Google, but he is going to his mailbox. Okay. Yeah. So that's the only point. It depends how big you are. The smaller people tend to have one or two methods of marketing. The bigger you get, the more different avenues you have. But direct mail should be one of those because if you don't, you're missing out on a huge chunk of the market. And it's a chunk of the market you're probably going to make more money on. And it's a proven fact, and we know this. Our customers tell us all the time, the deals they get from direct mail are more profitable almost always. Yeah. And because I think there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, you tend to go, there's less competition. And I think the people that pick up the phone and call you from something they got tend to be more serious versus somebody you cold call and they happen to answer the phone.
The amount of work it took for them to pick up the phone. Yeah, yes. Absolutely. So, and I've always said the same, right? I mean, you get the big three. It's direct mail, TV, PPC. Right? Like everyone I know is doing really well. It's those three. And it's not like, which of the three? Like, no, it's all three. All three.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So then, why ARIA print mail? I mean, obviously you guys have this reach. I mean, 31 million in sales in 1 year is remarkable, right? So
that's over, you do the math. We're doing over 40 million pieces a year in mail. That's a lot.
That's a lot of freaking mail. So why should I use ARIA print mail to mail to my audience or to mail to my targeted list?
Well, what we do is different than our competition. There's not a huge amount of competitors, but you've got two kinds of competitors. You've got the people that specialize in REI in this market, which we're one of those. And there's probably 5 other ones in the nation that do that. We're the biggest of all those by a lot, but there's other people that do similar things to what we do. Then you have the other type is just the local mail house. Every city has them that can do any kind of mail. They don't know anything about real estate. They don't know anything about anything other than putting mail out. So if you go to that kind of a person, you got to come up with everything. You got to come up with the marketing, the list, everything. Just give them the stuff. They'll print it and mail it, and they'll be cheap because that's what they do. That's what printing is get it out cheap. Okay. But they give you zero expertise. So you better know everything. Okay. Most of our competitors have some version of that. They're just a little bit more expertise. What we do that's different is, number one, we have a data company. One of my acquisitions was a data company called REI Smart Data. We bought that from Ken Clothier, actually. So we can get the data.
Was that REWW?
Yeah.
I remember this. I was a client of REWW.
It's called Smart was their system, but yes.
Yeah.
And we bought that and then we upgraded it and it's better now than it was then. But not that there was anything wrong with it, but I'm saying we've gotten really good at data. Okay. Yeah. It's not just about having the data source. We've gotten good at knowing what filters work in different counties because we do so much mail. Well, that's another thing we do. We track it. Okay. We not only do the mail, we have when I bought REI Vault, they had a division. That's why I have people in the Philippines and India. We answer the phones and we track the data. So when, not only do the mail, when the people pick up the call, we answer the phone and we put all that information in the CRM for our customers. When now we have all the data. We have all the response data and we know everything. So, and we don't do that for everybody, but we have enough volume of that. We have a couple different ways we can capture the data. We capture the data on 75% of the mail we do. So we know what mailer worked, what list worked, what area it worked. We know that nationwide in every area of the entire United States. So we can use that knowledge to advise our customers, the new guy that comes in and says, what should I do? We now have something to look at that's real data from real mail that say, this is what we did for another guy and that's what works. We can help get you started. Nobody else has that. And it's the tracking that's the key, but it's beyond that too. It's the data and the tracking. So my sales guys who are coaches, they've gotten really good at going into either our list system or other list systems. We know how to use PropStream and we work with DataFlick and 80/20 and all these different data companies. We know about all those guys. And so we know in every one of those what's better, what's worse, because we do all this volume, we track it. We can advise people, we want them to buy from us, but if they bring us somebody else's data, that's fine. We'll take that data and we'll mail it. We still take that and so we advise them on how to use that strategically to get the best results.
Right.
And then the mailer design is another thing. I'm really good at mailer design. I'm really good at coming up with unique things that work. Now, it doesn't always work, but what we always do is we're constantly designing new things, and then we put them out there and we test them before we roll it out to anybody else. We make sure there's some level of success before I ever tell anybody this is available. And so if it doesn't work, then we don't even put it out. So every mailer we have out there is some level of success that's proven. And then, it's just the whole strategy. So we put all this together because we know, like I said earlier, if we don't help them make money, they're not coming back. Mm-hmm. So it's in our best interest to help them make money and not just get leads, but get better leads that lead to better deals at a higher closing rate and more profit. So in the end, they might spend a little more because our model does cost more money. We charge more than most of our competition, mm-hmm. but we more than make up for it because in the end, they get more profitable deals and easily justifies the spend. And they're still way ahead.
Yeah.
And they have a level of confidence. So
you like to do the design part of it.
Yeah.
And the copy too?
Yeah, right. Copy. When I say design, I'm not a graphic designer, but I come up with the ideas. I work closely with my graphic designers. I come up with the idea, write the copy, then she'll make it look nice. Then we go back and forth till we're happy.
And then we can say like, all right, here's what we know worked. And for example, I'm in Chandler, Arizona. I can say, all right, Jeff, I'm looking to do some direct mail in Chandler. You can say, all right, based off these zip codes, here's the copy that's resonated. Here's the design that's resonated.
Here's a list. But it's more than that too. We start being before that. We say, okay, what kind of deals do you want to get? What's your buy box? Mm-hmm. You want what's your price range you want to buy? Do you want high equity? What do you want? Every investor has different things they're going after. You're a wholesaler, you fix and flip, you wholesale, whatever you do.
Yeah.
What are you looking for? How many deals you want to get a month? What's your closing rate? Do you know your closing rate? How many leads does it take you to close a deal? Mm-hmm. How much profit do you make on average per deal? So we take all that math and we go backwards and say, okay, based on all that, you need to get whatever, 5,000. We need to mail 5,000 pieces of mail in your area based on the stats we have for your area mm-hmm. to get that deal flow you want. Say one. We usually start with one deal. It's like you want one deal, takes this many mailers for one deal. So if you want 5 deals, you multiply it times 5. Yeah. So, and that's all part of the consulting we do because you can't believe how many people have no clue of any of that stuff. The new people especially. And you see how many leads it take you to close a deal, they don't know. Mm-hmm. But we know, because we know if you don't know, we can tell you, well, based on other people we have in your area, this is about what they're getting. Mm-hmm. And of course, the good salesmen do better than the bad salesmen. The newbies take more leads than the guys that are really good at it. Yeah. But it ranges anywhere from 50 leads to get a deal to 20 leads to get a deal, depending on how good they are, mm-hmm. And depending on how good the lead is. But all that factors into it. We help people with all that stuff. And since we're constantly coming out with new things, because no matter what works in direct mail, it has a life, just like other marketing has a life. The same mailer doesn't work for 10 years. So we're constantly testing new things to keep on the leading edge, mm-hmm. the next new thing that's going to work. And almost every major thing that's worked in this industry was designed by me. The street view mailers, when you take a picture of the house on the mailer, mm-hmm. the first guy that ever did that, I would have patented that if I could, but unfortunately, Google allows you to do that as part of their code. You can't patent it. But in all industries, I'm the first guy that ever did that. Now insurance does it, roofers do it, construction guys do it, everybody does it. Mm-hmm. So I did that 7 years ago when Google first came out with the street view images of the houses. I've offer mailers. That's big in the industry right now where you actually make a physical offer. Nobody did that before we did it. Mm-hmm. And that really got popular in COVID because people were getting all these checks in the mail. And I had check designs, fake check designs, in my library 5 years before that. Yeah. I had a handful of people who use them. They always worked, but people were afraid of them because they're afraid of committing to the offer. But in COVID, nothing else was working. Mm-hmm. So people started doing that and it started working like crazy. And before you know it, everybody's doing that. And all our competitors steal all our designs. In fact, we started copywriting everything. The last year, I've started copywriting everything I do because I had problem with every major design we have that has worked. My competitors have stolen from us.
Well, I mean, that's I know for us on online marketing. I mean, like I've shared this before on this podcast multiple times. Like when I first got into buying houses, I just copied Sean Terry's entire online campaign and made it mine.
Yeah.
And he knows about it. He doesn't care. But yeah, like, I think that this is it's horrific online. But yeah, I can totally hear what you're saying.
Well, I do care because we spend a lot of money to do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And if I spend my time and money and invest to make something work, you can't just go steal it. So anyway, I'm taking legal action now with copywriting to protect myself as best I can. It's hard to totally protect it, but there are things you can do that.
Well, the biggest thing is the threat alone is often enough to deter.
Well, it's good for the investors too. People don't realize this. The reason things stop working is any given mailer gets swamped. Everybody starts using it.
Mm-hmm.
So if all of a sudden everybody's using the same thing, it doesn't work anymore. So if I copyright something where only you can use it if you're doing business with me, then all the competitors who do business with everybody else, they can't use that mailer.
Yeah.
That gives you, the investor, a leg up. So it's your advantage for me to protect that intellectual property. And people never think about it that way, but it really is. It's better for everybody. So because I'm confident we will continue, no matter what happens to the market, we will continue to do better than our competition. The one thing I didn't talk about is AI too. We have been on the leading edge of AI with our data to come up with AI algorithms that make the data even better.
How?
Well, it's the magic of AI, which I'm not an AI guy, so my computer guy does this. But basically we take lists and we factor, with AI, you put in various different factors related to the property. It could be demographics, it could be characteristics about the property, whatever. And then you compare that to other properties that have sold in the past. And through the magic of AI, it figures out of this list, we score the list. So what we do is we'll do the best we can to pull a list out of our database if we're doing the list. And then we run it through our AI algorithm to score the leads. And it goes from most likely to sell to least likely to sell. And then we'll throw away the ones that are least likely to sell. And it's generally about 40% of the list we throw in the trash. And then we mail the top 60%. And we have found in doing that, it has dramatically increased the results because it's not so much that the most likely to sell sells more. It's just you throw away the garbage more. We're really accurate in identifying the garbage that these guys aren't going to sell.
Yeah.
But how it does it, I have no idea. It's the magic of AI, and it's ever changing. But we're working on a new one right now that nobody had what we have here, but there's a new one that really nobody has, and we're in the early testing stages. But so far, it's going really well. So
Gotcha.
I just believe in staying whatever's happening. I'm trying to stay ahead of it.
And then there's another thing you were talking about, which is what a lot of real estate investors get wrong when they are doing direct mail.
Well, they get a lot of things wrong. So one of the things they get wrong is going cheap. Okay. People think, and it's ironic, the guys that mail big tend to be cheaper than the smaller guys. Because what happens is, when I say cheap, they go the cheapest list, the cheapest mailer, because they're writing big checks. If you're mailing 50,000 pieces a month, let's say your mail costs 80 cents a piece, you're writing a $40,000 check. It's a big check. Okay. And people start thinking, wow, especially if times get a little tough, wow, that's a big check, So if I could save a nickel, maybe I save $5,000 on that check. I want to save that $5,000. The problem is saving that nickel usually means going from the guy that knows what he's talking about to the guy that doesn't know what he's talking about. And so you're taking a chance that your results aren't going to be as good. And the little bit of money you save usually is not worth what you lose in effectiveness. So that's the mistake they made. Yeah. Or they copy other things. Or another mistake they make is they think they're smarter than the market. So we have all these proven designs that work. They say, no, I want to do my own design. And they come up with their own thing that's totally untested. And they put their whole budget against the totally untested thing. And almost always it totally fails. Because number one, they do what they think is going to work, which usually isn't right. Okay. A lot of people think glossy, fancy. I put my logo on it, and picture my building. And it's this fancy, glossy postcard. That almost never works. Okay. It just almost never works. This is true in the commercial world too. People, it's an ego thing, and they want to talk. They got a picture of their staff and a picture of their building and their logo. And the whole thing is about how great they are. Yeah. People do not care about how great you are. They care about what's in it for them. And everything you ever do in marketing should be focused on what's in it for the customer that's reading it. What's in it for me? That's all we care about. We don't care about your logo and your building. We care about what you're going to do for me and what you're going to do for me today, not yesterday. So, and that's the key to marketing. And a lot of people do not get that. So they think they know better and they don't test it. I would say, go ahead.
Where do you study marketing?
What I do?
Where did you study marketing?
The real world. I have zero. I'm a student of marketing, so I'm reading constantly. I'm a big fan of Dan Kennedy. So I didn't go to any school, but when you're in engineering school, they don't do marketing. Okay?
Right. Oh, I think it's probably in regular college don't study marketing either.
And even if you go to business school, the marketing, because I have hired guys that have marketing, and what they teach them is useless.
They teach them branding.
Yeah. So, and by the way, when you're small business branding, I'm not saying branding is not important. There's a place for it, but you have to, every single mailing you do has to produce directly. You can't just do branding mailings because you lose your butt. You don't have enough money to do that. You're not cool. No, it's a real world. It's trial and error. And I always say it doesn't matter what you think or what I think about a given marketing plan. It's what the market tells us. We don't know what the market tells us. Then we put it out there and see what the market says. And
which you have the data.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong, you know? And it's funny, sometimes I've had several things happen that I didn't think were going to work, and they did. And then I've had other things I really thought were going to work, and they didn't work, you know?
Yeah.
So.
What, another thing you talked about in the past was lack of answer rate.
Oh yeah, this is a big thing too. So we learned this. This is a recent revelation in the last year. So I told you we answer the phones for people. And the division of our company, we have people, we have various different levels. We have a call center. It's not an outgoing call center. It's an incoming. So when we send out mail, we can put a tracking phone number on it, and then we answer the phone with a live person. Well, in doing that, we also have customers that use part of that system. They use the tracking phone numbers, but we don't answer the phones for them. So we know they answer their own phones. Well, we know through millions of lines of data that the average real estate investor misses 55% of the calls. 55%, more than half, okay?
That's atrocious.
It's insane. I didn't believe it. When I first saw it, I thought there's no way. That can't be true. Okay? But it's true, okay? We have the data. And so, and I started talking, before I even did anything about that, I started talking in the boardroom, hey, just found this stat. What do you guys think about that? And every one of them said, oh yeah, that's probably true. You know, why is it true? Well, it's because most real estate investors are not huge organizations. They're either a one-man show or a small organization. They might have people, acquisitions people, whatever, that answer the phone, but most of the time they're busy. They're working deals. They're on the phone. So if a phone call comes in, you're on the phone, you don't answer it, you miss it, goes to voicemail. Or if you're closed, you miss it, or whatever. There's a lot of reasons why you don't answer the phone, even if you have people to answer the phone. Well, the second part of that is most real estate investors are not good at follow-up because they're busy, okay? So they might make one or two attempts to call somebody. If they miss it, maybe. But if they don't get through to them, usually that's the end of it. And so we have found through our studies that the follow-up is almost zero for most people. If they miss it, they miss it. They lose that lead. If you think about that, if you miss over half your calls, whatever money you spent to generate that, you threw that in the trash.
Half of it.
That is insane.
Half of it's in the trash.
So we can fix that by just letting us answer the phone. And we've done this. In fact, the last year we've really been pushing this. We're getting a lot of people to do this. And it's amazing. Not only do we answer it, we then ask them a series of 10 questions to find out if the person really has a house and they're really serious about selling the house. And is it the right address? And is the right owner? All that stuff. We ask them a series of questions. We put all that into a CRM that we give people as part of the service. And then we identified a qualified lead. So if you're a busy real estate investor, you don't have to answer every call and talk to every person. You just got to talk to the qualified leads, which is a small percentage of what calls in. And those are the deals you want to really talk to. And we have people raving that, this is awesome. It's freed up my time. I know I'm not missing any leads. I only talk to these ones that are good. And then but even the ones that aren't qualified, we still keep them. That's the outgoing part of our thing. We still follow up with them indefinitely until they either tell us to take them off the list or they become qualified. And, because people aren't necessarily ready today, but they might be ready 2 years from now,
That's a huge service.
Yes.
And then if someone wanted to do business with you, how would they go about reaching out to you guys?
Well, you can go to reiprintmail.com, and there's our standard offer is a 15-minute free coaching call. And so all that is you get on the phone with one of my coaches, and we ask about your market, what's your buy box, and we'll do a free market analysis to decide if use some of the data we have in your market and try to figure out, can we help you? Will the numbers work for you? It doesn't work for everybody. If you don't make enough profit per deal, direct mail may not work for you. For most people in most markets, it can work. But we'll figure that out, not high pressure. It's just an introductory call to figure out if there's a chance to do business together. And if there is, we'll set up a secondary call to get more serious about it. If not, we shake hands and say, thank you very much. And that's the end of it. It's not high pressure. We're not hard closing people because we know we're looking for long-term relationships. You don't hard close into long-term relationships. So it's, we want you to be happy with it, and we got to perform or it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It doesn't do us any good to twist your arm into something that's not going to work.
No,
and I'm not going to recommend something if we know it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Because it's just shooting ourselves in the foot. That's stupid.
Yeah. Your brand's too important.
Yeah.
Something else you've talked about was knowing how to use filters to find hidden deals or hidden data. What's that about?
Well, there's all kinds of all data companies, no matter where they come from in the real estate space, go to property tax record offices and they pull the data from property taxes. There's 156 million households in the United States. Every single data source, I don't care who it is, has that same 156 million records. So, but in every property tax office does things a different way and they're reported a different way. Some might report how many bedrooms and baths, others don't. It's different. They're all different. And there's something like 250 different potential characteristics about a house that may or may not be reported. So we've gotten really good at figuring out in different areas what they report, what they don't report, and to pull out stuff that other people don't see. Because if you don't know that, you do some generic thing, you'll miss some of that stuff. And so that's what we've gotten really good at doing. And that's all from trial and error. We just know doing that. We find these hidden pockets that other people don't find.
That's through the county, or I'm sorry, you're saying that we're all pulling from the same data. Everyone's pulling from the same data, but you're saying you guys have additional tricks in your bag.
It's like our smart system. It's got the search page has got, you put in the zip codes and everything. It's got all these different filters you can pick from. But it's combination geography goes to different county tax offices and they report different ways. So we know based on geography where you are, what your tax office does. And we've gotten really good at pulling stuff out of those various different tax offices that aren't obvious. And the only way you know that is through trial and error. We're doing what we do for all this tracking and all this data.
Can you give an example of something that would be like a house, a case study of a client recently who got a deal that was...
Well, by the way, the AI helps with this too. So the AI helps to take that on steroids because it helps to find things that we're not smart enough as humans to find. The computer can find it. So we put those two together. It's really good. But it happens all the time. What we find is sometimes we'll have we're always competing against the 80-20 list or the Dataflick and 80-20 are the two companies we compete the most with in terms of lists. And we have a lot of customers that bring those to us. They're good companies, all right? They have good lists. But they're AI companies too. They have their own way of doing it. They both do it differently, and I don't even know what they do, but they do something with AI. They could say, hey, these are the good records. Well, sometimes their data beats us. Sometimes we beat them. But we found sometimes theirs will work for a while, and then all of a sudden it stops working. And then our data works better. And then we'll say, okay, let's go pull in this area here. Let's look for this certain kind of a, it's not a contract, but I'm drawing a blank what the word is. When you have a contract for a house, there's all different ways to register a house with different contracts and things. Things are sold on different contracts.
Right.
And there's house, when somebody dies, it's one way. If it goes to probate, it's one way. If it goes to, it's another way. There's different contracts.
Special warranty deeds.
So we'd say, hey, let's go look for this little thing. Let's add this to the list. And lo and behold, all of a sudden the guy found, I just got 2 awesome deals out of there. I made $100,000 on each deal. And all we did was pick a little thing, add a little bit to the list. And we also got a couple specialty lists. One's called the invisible list. One's called the shipwreck list that have these weird characteristics. Invisible, we call invisible because we don't even really know what's in it. That came from REI Vault that they developed over 10 years ago. And they lost the algorithm for that, but it's plugged into the computer. It still works.
Okay.
So we literally call it the invisible list because the criteria is invisible, but it routinely performs better than a lot of these AI lists, but not always. So it's a matter of testing. Shipwrecked is a list of people that have all kinds of really bad problems. And it's a combination of all those. And so it's not a big list, but it's one we add to it. So there's no one thing. It's just getting really good at pulling out all these little niches. And we've just gotten really good at that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I saw you say was beating your competition is the number one goal for investors. That's an interesting statement.
Yeah, we run out of time.
No.
Okay. So this is a key thing. All right. In the investing world, everybody thinks they got to go find the magic or the hidden deal. Now there's everything I'm talking about is part of that is finding hidden deals. But what's really behind that is you're finding houses that the competition is not hitting so much. If you go to the basics, back up and say every investor, like I talked about earlier, older people are target market, high equity. So high equity, people over the age of 50, they've been in their house over 20 years, they're absentee owners. Those are the obvious characteristics to find houses that are probably a good target for. So every single real estate in America, investor in America, is going after those same characteristics. So everybody and their brother is going to be sending postcards or letters if they're using direct mail to those same people. So if you go to talk to somebody, you might have a stack, 2 inches high of mailers they've gotten. And so how do you stand out in the stack 2 inches high? Well, there is a way to stand out. Part of that comes into the design of the mailer. So we can help with that with these creative designs. But what if the stack wasn't 2 inches high? What if the stack was only 1 inch high or a half inch? Or maybe there's no stack. Maybe yours is the only mailer you get. That's what I talk about beating the competition. So two things. Number one, we try to, through the data, find leads that don't have so much competition because it's kind of hidden. So the competitors don't know it. They don't get it in those obvious things. But number two, it's having better mailers, or you as the investor doing a better job of handling the lead once you get it, okay? It's answering the phone, okay? It's following up with them, the sales stuff, the stuff you teach, okay? Right. How do you turn that lead into an actual deal? Well, you do that with a lot of different ways, but that's all part of beating your competition, because most of the competition, we know this because they're our customers, okay? We lose 60 to 70% of the customers every single year, no matter how good of a job we do, okay? Most of those people are newbies. And what happens is there's hundreds of thousands of people all over the United States every year that go to weekend seminars that are put on by the coaches we do business with that say, I'm going to teach you how to get rich in real estate this weekend. And they go to a seminar and they get excited. They may or may not buy a coaching program. But they learn something and they learn a little bit. And they go out and say, okay, let's do some direct mail. Let's get some leads. And they go get the lead and maybe they get 20 calls. Half the people won't even call the people back, okay? Because they're afraid to call them.
Yeah.
They haven't been taught how to do that, right? They're scared. So, or they call them one time and it doesn't go well and that's the last time they call them. Most of those people do one campaign, they never come back, they're gone. So that's your competition. So I teach multi-touch, different mailers, be unique and be frequent. That's part of that's branding, but a part of it's just beating out the competition. If you send a mailer to somebody over and over again, and you're still around 6 months from now, and a year from now, and 2 years from now, when they finally are ready to sell, you've got a much better chance of getting a deal than the guy that mails one time and goes away. Yeah. Now, there might be 50 of those guys that mail one time and go away, but most of them are gone. So if you do the right things with follow-up, being a good company, being responsible, being honest, you're going to beat your competition most of the time. But that's really important. You got to think about that.
Yeah,
that's all part of just being good.
You got to be a good business owner.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So REI print mail. So moving to wrapping up here, a few questions I want to ask you. What do you want to be remembered for?
Well, I like, everything I'm talking about is we want people to respect us, that we're helping bring value to their business. And for us, bringing value is helping them to get more leads that lead to more profitable deals. But it's more than that. It's helping them to be good businessmen. Now, I'm not going to do business coaching. Okay, we're not going that far. We don't sell coaching. Everything we do is when we talk about coaching, free coaching calls, it's all free. You're never going to see us trying to sell you a coaching package. We don't do that, okay? And we limit our expertise to marketing coaching. But that's still a big deal, okay? And we help people, especially over time if they stick with us, we help them be better marketers because we impart the information we know on them and they will make better decisions about marketing and do a better job and probably have more success. So I want to be known as, hey, this is a guy that knows what he's talking about. Not just, I say guy, me, but I mean my whole company. We know what we talk about. We care. We're honest. And we really care about helping people to do a better job, be more successful.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm all about. I mean, it's got to win. We have to win. It all comes down, it's got to be win-win. We both can't win. There's no deal. And there's no long-term relationship. So I'm always looking for that win-win deal. And winning means we help people do better. It's that simple.
Yeah. Gotcha. What is your superpower?
I think it's finding win-win deals. I mean, I really think that is. And all the stuff I'm talking about kind of feeds into that. But and also seeing deals where other people don't see it. I think those are the two things that I'm good at. And
what do you think attributed to that?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think part of it's being analytical. I'm analytical. I'm open-minded about everything, not just business. I mean, I'm a conspiracy guy. Right? It's not that I'm a guy that promotes conspiracies, but I will listen to anything, no matter how crazy it is. And I will seriously consider if I think that's legit or not. And I'll actually do the research and say, does this make any sense? Does it not make any sense? Is this crazy? Is it not crazy? And I think having an open mind leads me to a lot of possibilities. I love shows like the Shark Tank. And And The Profit, I like that show too. When you do stuff like that, I'm always reading about marketing and business. I have a lot of friends who are business owners and entrepreneurs. And I think when you're constantly thinking about that, I think it helps you see things that other people don't see. You just become a better businessman in general.
So is curiosity then?
Yeah, that's probably good. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm the same way. Like I'll listen in about anything.
Yeah.
Until we find out very quickly this thing doesn't have legs and you're just talking about nothing. Then I can't listen forever. But like, yeah, like as listening's got legs, like let's keep talking about this until we see where this theory breaks. Yeah. I'm definitely the same way there. Which failure would you say you learned the most from?
Well, I fought the IRS for 10 years. And it was painful. And I actually ended up, that wasn't a failure. I ended up actually winning the case. But what I learned out of that is it isn't worth it. Okay. It isn't worth, and I won because I was in the right. But from a tax, it's a long story, but I was walking the gray area line in Texas. And the IRS didn't agree with my gray area. So
they had a different point of view on it.
Yes. And in the end, it was very expensive and very painful. And I just thought it's not worth it. It's not worth walking the gray for the potential pain. So I don't do that anymore. But other than that, no. I mean, it's everything. Business is a journey, and you make in business, you lose the money all the time. I mean, every single month I piss money away on something, marketing especially. I mean, you're always doing marketing things, that may or may not work. I don't know if it's going to work or not. We'll try it, see if it works. You measure it. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you can't figure it out if it works or not. And it's an ongoing risk. All these companies I bought, not everyone worked out. I didn't track it in super detail, but I had a couple of them that ended up being a total waste. I had a couple that were massive home runs. Most of them are in the middle somewhere, but they all moved in the right direction. I don't regret any of it. I don't regret any mistake I ever made. Partnership, I would say having partners. I recommend against partners in general. When I first went into business, I didn't say this, but my brother, I have two brothers. The brother that works for me now still works for me. But I had another brother that was my original business partner. After I started, a year into it, we were partners. In the beginning, when we didn't have any money, it was okay. But what happens in most partnerships is it gets out of whack at some point. One person's doing more than the other person, and either the money's not working or something's not working. And it's just not even. And it's rare for a partnership to work long term, so I don't do it anymore. I'll have people make deals, but I'm not saying you can't have somebody have a piece of your company or something like that, a small piece, but I still have to be the boss. I have to be in control. Because I just think it's asking for too much. Partnerships are great. When you're both broke, it's great for moral support. But beyond that, it's not so great,
You still talk
That's probably my biggest regret is doing that partnership with my brother, really.
You still
I wish I'd never done it. I do, but our relationship has never been the same. It was when we parted, it was not good.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk to each other for like 10 years. We've since sort of mended fences, but it's still
never the same.
No.
Yeah, it's looking at this, I haven't done this as long as you have, but the things I've seen is like even with the best of intentions, it's impossible for the vision to stay aligned for a long period of time. It doesn't matter what's going on.
People are different. They change over time.
Yeah.
And even if it's aligned, you're a different part in your life. I might want to retire and the other guy doesn't want to.
Now what?
And and he wants half the business, but you don't think it's worth, he wants more than it's worth. And then what do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. All right. So I want you to think about some last thoughts I want to leave all the listeners with. I'm going to share one last thing. Guys, if you get value out of today's episode, please make sure you subscribe. That way we can get even more disruptors who are coming down, breaking down the exact moves they made to win, and we can reach more people, become millionaires. What are some last thoughts you'd like to leave all the listeners with?
I know we've talked about so many things. I think, well, number one about my company, I always say everything we've talked about works whether you do business with me or not. So, but REI Print Mail, if you're interested in leads as a real estate investor, what I said earlier, if you're not using direct mail as part of your comprehensive marketing strategy, you're leaving money on the table. And that's true about the call center too. If you're answering your own calls and you're not really doing a good job of answering the calls, you're leaving money on the table big time there too. So consider that. We can help you do better. I promise you that. So than any of our competition. when it comes to business in general, I think as an entrepreneur, it's about drive. It's about, you just have to just keep going. You have to keep, no matter what is put in front of you, you have to figure out a way to overcome it and keep pushing, keep trying new stuff, and figure out a way to make it work,
Mm-hmm.
Everything you do, you have to think about. Every move you make financially, you have to think about if this works, what's the best case? What if it doesn't work? I never take any risks that are going to risk the farm on one deal. No matter what I do, I always consider if this totally goes bad, what happens?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's too bad, if that negative is too bad, I don't do it. Okay. Never risk the farm on any one thing. And a lot of people do that. They put all their eggs in one basket and it doesn't work and they're screwed.
Yeah. Well, that's a sad reality we see over and over again.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's, I have no other thoughts really.
Yeah.
So,
well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming.
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next
Shout
time.
out to Steve Train. Jump on the Steve Train. Disruptors.